Excessive Celebration on Crossover Sports. Get that app if you don't have it. Scott Owens, Billy Bell. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to introduce you to a segment I affectionately call Blowing Up the Bathroom in Fantasy Sports.
I just got my second bathroom back working again.
Ooh.
My wife decided that we were going to completely redo our bathroom.
Ooh.
And it hasn't been a fantasy. I had a bathtub in my bedroom for a while.
I don't want to change that bedpan.
Well, that's what towels are for.
Hey.
Disposable.
So for all you guys, Saturday, well actually technically Wednesday night, sitting on your john, thinking, who should I put in? Well, we've got the answers for you. I'll tell you right now, it's not Tyreek Hill. Not Tyreek Hill. Made that mistake this week. Tyreek Hill will be gone for a couple of weeks.
Not when you can have Andrew Luck.
No, you can get Andrew Luck. He's still on the cheap right now.
I bet.
So some good options
Cheap
for
meds.
Tyreek Hill. If you do not know, Mecole Hardman, kid they drafted this year. Then the reason why they drafted him was because they didn't know they were going to have Tyreek Hill. And they were thinking this guy's going to be the next Tyreek Hill. Same kind of speed, not quite as fast, let's be honest, but the same type of speed.
Yeah, if he fits the same mold,
Yeah,
and can get in space.
Undersized wide receiver who can run faster than whoever you go.
So maybe he doesn't take it to the house, but he goes 40 and
Right,
then gets pulled
right.
down from behind.
The downside with him is his hands. And as a wide receiver, he's had a lot of drops, and it may be just the adjustment period. I have to assume that Mahomes throws the ball harder than anybody he's ever had at quarterback. So that's where we're getting the drops from. But he'll figure it out. He will figure it out. So you run into a dual issue here. So the key play would be to play Hardman, right?
Yeah.
Or do you play LaShawn McCoy?
Well, he looked pretty good. He looked like the old LaShawn McCoy to
A little
me.
resurgence, maybe?
Yeah.
And kind of been an Andy Reid guy and kind of not been an Andy Reid guy.
But they're familiar with each other.
Right,
Bill.
right. I think the safe play would be to go to Hardman here because McCoy, it's still a running back by committee. Can you split McCoy out? Yes, but I think Hardman's going to get more touches and see more actions. The interesting part will be when Hill gets healthy is how does it work itself out with Hardman and McCoy, or Hardman and Hill on. Now you got both of these guys who can do all sorts of things, and that team could be really scary.
Okay, earlier when we were talking about these teams and where we thought they would be and where we had concerns earlier, say in the preseason,
Mm-hmm.
one of the concerns you had was replacing Kareem Hunt at running back. Based on what you've seen so far, whether it's McCoy
Or Williams.
Yeah. How do you feel now?
They're still probably a tier 3, tier 4 running back. They're not anybody that I would have on my team, but if I have an injury or something, I might try to plug and play one.
Is the advent of the young man that they brought in case Tyreek wasn't signed, with the advent of him playing the level he is and getting Tyreek back, does that offset offensively some of the of the weaknesses or gaps that you saw with the loss of Hunt?
That should alleviate a lot. I mean, because now if you thought the Chiefs were scary before,
and I did,
you've got Watkins playing at a higher level. You've got Hill, who we assume is going to come back to being healthy and being okay here in a couple of weeks.
If what you're saying is true, I mean, none of that's going to affect his speed. So if you can still get the ball in his hands.
It's very, very, and we'll see if Reed can figure it out, which he's a smart enough guy that he will, but it's kind of like the Patriots situation from week to week, right? So 1 week the Patriots run the ball 295 times, and that's all they do. The next week they come out and sling it all over the place. It's all dictated on defense matchups, whatever they can exploit. Now you've got two guys that are so versatile that they can play the backfield. you could probably play a little option game with Mahomes. You could run slants, run deep outs with guys that run 4-1, 4-2, and you're going to tell me you have 2 cornerbacks, 2 safeties that can stay with both of these guys? Oh, by the way, and Sammy Watkins, who seems like he's found himself again.
I think my contractor bought the Versatile from you that's in my new bathroom.
And he might want to return it. That die lot is wrong.
Oh, okay.
So then I want to take a look at this. The next one is it's actually a team, right? So now you've got the Patriots, who add with the addition of Antonio Brown. So all those guys who drafted Antonio Brown at round 3, round 5, because that's about on average where he fell. What do you do with Josh Gordon? What do you do with Demaryius Thomas, who didn't play? What do you do with Edelman? Personally, I stay away from the Patriots team as a whole, just because you never know with Tom Brady on who his favorite target's going to be week to week.
Right.
Years past, you could probably say Gronk and Edelman, and I'd probably still stick with Edelman. Edelman's the safe play.
Yeah. He wasn't afraid to go to Moss, though, when they got him.
No, and he's not been afraid to go to Gordon. It's just you don't know when that breakout game's going to happen, and you don't know when not to. So it's hard to tell when you should play him and when you shouldn't sometimes.
And are we certain, Bill, that Father Flanagan has stepped in and that Brown's going to show up and he's going to repent and realize that he threw $20 million bucks away and he's got to do the right thing? Or
there was an interesting I guess comment or article on ESPN about how he called Jerry Rice, and I guess talked to Jerry Rice saying he wanted to go play on the West Coast and everything like this, and Rice says that he kind of felt like the Patriots were going to be the team that got him, and that's where he originally wanted to play to begin with. If that's the case, then why not immediately just ask for a buyout?
Yeah, what was all this other stuff
Why not immediately ask
about?
for a trade? Why not do like you're telling me that if the Raiders get me and I don't want to play with the Raiders, I want to go play with Tom Brady or whatever team, that I can't go to the organization and be like, listen, guys, I'm not going to suit up this year, or I'm not going to do whatever unless you trade me to this team.
Yeah.
And that team gets a better deal out of it than wasting its time, money, and effort on you to, I guess not money because they recouped it all, but time and effort on you to get you to wherever you need to be. And plus they get draft picks or whatever compensation back.
Sure.
It's just a headache.
I'm thinking of Gruden's comment when he said, "Oh, at least I got to meet AB. I never got to meet Khalil Mack."
Well, and the whole Gruden thing was even weirder. So, like, he allowed the tweets and the conversation to go out and all. I mean, it's just a weird. And he comes out and says that he's the most misunderstood football player ever. Like, what? Like,
it's like Gruden's trying to win the Mr. Congeniality Award among the Players Association.
Is he trying to appease Antonio Brown to staying? And
I wonder what kind of relationship Gruden and Mayock have, because I can't imagine that it's magical like you and I.
I would guarantee that if somebody's getting fired after this season, it's not going to be John Gruden.
Not going to be the guy they paid $100 million for 10 years.
So, in this case, on who do you play? I think you've got to start AB and you've got to start Edelman, and especially this first game. Even if he gets limited to 20 snaps, AB's going to see the ball. And I would be hard-pressed to say he's not going to score a touchdown. I think the guys that you lose, Demaryius Thomas may have shown.
A factor yet.
Yeah, it may have shown in a preseason game that he can come back, but the dude's coming off of an Achilles injury. And even in Houston wasn't amazing.
Right.
I don't know that he's. I mean, it's scary to have that many good wide receivers, but I don't know that he's. I think going to be the odd man out. Josh Gordon, who, when right and can stay on the field.
Yeah.
This
and
guy.
Off the other stuff. Stay on the turf and off the grass.
This guy we would be talking about as a Hall of Fame wide receiver, possibly even the best wide receiver to ever play the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because of all the issues,
you got to be a little careful there, because you're talking about Jerry Rice, and I get a little
Well, you look at his
I get
numbers.
a little defensive.
Well, no, I'm not. Well, and you say Jerry Rice, I say Randy Moss.
Moss Rice.
And then before all that, I would have said Chris Carter,
Yeah.
but that one's borderline. But yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not a Chris Carter fan. He kept bugging me at a basketball game one time because I had better seats. Him and Kirby Puckett sitting behind me. I was like, hey, you guys are you, and I'm me, and that's why I'm one row in front of you. I'm between you and Janet Jackson, so tough it out.
Little did they know you were about to be part of the greatest super pork chop in the business.
Without a doubt. That they, again, you can't have a beef with us over a super pork chop.
And he's got to sit across from Nick Wright. It's just not right.
No, it's not.
Mm-mm.
Every morning,
Mm-mm.
you got to look at that dude.
Mm-mm.
Looks like a falcon hawk or something. Scary looking. Not that we should make fun of people's appearances because, well, that's pedestrian. It's superfluous.
Low blow.
It is not who we are about. But did you see
But
that
come
guy?
on.
Come on.
But come on.
Come on.
All the pretty.
Oh, some.
What do you got first, guys?
Okay, well, we were talking a little bit about what you need to do, and frankly, you're right. I think there were a lot of people beginning 2 weeks ago with Andrew Luck that began to wonder what they had after some of these early drafts and what have you. But the guys that got off to a great start, at least according to the Athletic, top 10, Christian McCaffrey.
Killed it.
Josh Jacobs last night.
Killed it.
Man, and that offensive line, they looked good. Guess who's number 3? Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray. This is based off actual points. DeAndre Hopkins, not a bad wide receiver.
He's all right.
He's not bad. David Johnson. Jamison Crowder, another wide receiver.
I think Jamison Crowder's more of a kind of a once every couple of weeks kind of guy.
Sure.
He hasn't proven to be consistent.
You got Evan Ingram. And then a local name here, Chris Carson. For the Seahawks, he is. Go ahead with Evan.
I was gonna say Evan is one of those guys that a lot of people hype up about being. Oh, he's the next tight end, the next dude, right?
Yeah.
Every year I've had Evan Ingram, nothing, right? So watch out, be careful on Evan Ingram. Chris Carson, I like a lot. He's consistent.
What do you think? You think he'd have a little higher profile? I mean, it's kind of a stupid question, but he got hurt in last year, like the second game of the year or something for the season, or
well, and then you went through the weird phase with Pete Carroll of he wanted CJ Prosise because of his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He wants to go a different look, but what seems to work in that offense is a guy just like Marshawn Lynch. Yeah. You need a bruiser who can catch the ball and is not afraid.
Yeah.
The whole, I don't want to say dainty because CJ Prosise wasn't dainty, but he was thinner and taller and not quite the impact player. You need somebody that can pound the ball in Seattle's offense.
Yeah, and he can, and he's also pretty athletic, Bill. I mean, when he was in college, he was leaping over guys. I mean, he reminds me a little bit of a running style of a guy that might have been before your time, but played for San Francisco, was from the University of Nebraska, named Roger Craig.
Mm-hmm.
And Roger Craig kind of ran a little more upright, but he was still dropping his shoulder. And I think one time, who was the guy that was the defensive player that was kind of Romanowski? Bill Romanowski said trying to tackle back then, trying to tackle him was like trying to tackle a bowling ball with knives sticking out of it. That is just very. Roger Craig was a nasty guy.
That comment reminds me of two people. Tom Rathman.
Oh yeah, another Nebraska boy.
And
played with him at
Mike Allstat.
Oh yeah.
Just
absolutely.
Guys with those big bulky shoulder pads that you just do not want to touch. Yep.
Yeah, Tampa, right?
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who was the last on the list?
Larry Fitzgerald. I never heard of him. Does he catch balls? Is he?
Yeah, Fitzgerald's a little bit.
Pittsburgh Panther, wasn't he? Wasn't he a Pitt Panther?
I think we could. Is it safe to say that Larry Fitzgerald may have the best hands ever for a wide receiver?
I'd have a hard time arguing that point. I don't know if you add everything together if he's the greatest, but he may be the greatest human being to ever play wide receiver.
Yeah, him and I'm trying to think of guys. So
Terrell Owens.
Not just guys that catch deep balls and stuff or take it for, because Fitzgerald was never really going to outrun anybody, but you talk about like all the body-to-body catches as far as the guys draped all over him. Him and probably Hines Ward have some of the
love that guy.
Have some of the best hands I've ever seen on wide receivers. And I don't mean, hey, I've got this glove on that allows me to catch it with my pinky. I mean, these guys catch everything perfectly every time the way you're supposed to catch it. It is amazing.
I don't know if you saw a couple of the catches Tylan Wallace made the other night, but he has an innate ability. I don't know if it's just strong hands or whatever, but he goes up as farther than anyone else and just owns the ball. And I think that's a talent, Bill. I think.
Well, yeah, it can't be just strong hands alone, or Adrian Peterson would be catching everything.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but going back to Fitzgerald, I mean, there was, 2 years ago, he was thinking about retiring.
Yeah.
And he stayed on, and it's only going to help Kyler because obviously it may not be next year, it may be the end of this year. I don't know. Fitzgerald's going to retire at some point, and they're going to have to find.
He needs to run for office out there or something. I'd vote for him. The guy's an amazing human being.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
The one thing I want
more of him.
The one thing I want to ask you about before we wrap up this segment is
my man crush on Vontez Perfect.
How about your Raiders?
Oh man, I enjoyed that. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it doesn't mean. All I know is I felt really happy for my brethren in the black hole getting one more Monday night game. I like to say bye-bye.
I like the passion that they played with. Like, you could just tell the Raiders wanted to be there, but the thing that I find the most interesting is after the game they get Derek Carr over.
Oh,
and
man.
you know
he's another good guy.
I like Derek Carr to death.
Yeah.
He censored himself so much about all the questioning because he could have taken that so many different ways.
Right, he stayed classy.
And man, he wanted, you could just tell it in his eyes and the tone of his voice that he wanted to just lay into.
Showed
Antonio
restraint,
Brown.
but it wasn't easy, but he did. Yeah, I'm more impressed with him every year. And, as a fan, it's always the what if, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and as an OSU fan, it's always the what if. But I go back to the playoffs and him getting injured and where might they be had that not happened. And I'm not saying they're a dynasty or anything else, but they'd be better than they have been.
I don't think there should be ever a question, at least for Gruden, and they maybe prove me wrong, but I think this is your guy. The talent that you can put around him, they need to get a little bit better with, but this is your guy. Stick with this guy. He's going to get you somewhere.
So, did you notice that Pittsburgh sent Dobbs to replace? Boy, what a sad story for Nick Foles, right? Although there's some justice, Bill, if you think about it. How did he get famous? Quarterback in front of him got hurt.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Not I.
Not I.
You're listening to the Super Pork Chop Hour. Just kidding. Excessive celebration on Crossover Sports. Slice up that defense and get that app.
Chop, chop.